Unleashing innovation in China? Now this is thoughtful. Hello, I'm Nikki Wang in Shanghai. Inspiring marketing teams to think outside the box can be a challenge, especially in China, where students are often taught to memorize rather than solve problems. And our Confucian culture encourages respect for superiors at home and at work. We'll look at steps companies can take to foster innovation, and our own PT Black will examine the ways creativity in China is changing fast. But first, with us is Robin Xiao, VP of Marketing for Asia Pacific and Japan for HP's Personal Systems Group. Robin, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
You've worked in China for 5 years now, and how has China changed in terms of creativity?
And I think one thing that has kind of come up looking back quite clearly on why we had been pretty successful in the way we had gotten the team to work on the brand and the outreach is that we have given a chance for the team to really put out their true value and also thoughts behind what they are capable of. I think one of the major challenges, if I may say, in many of the other businesses and brands that we see, is that we did not give the individual the full opportunity to unleash their potential. You know, I think one of the biggest value in a lot of creative people in China is that one, I think is the reservation about really saying what they think, you know, and two, you know, are they in a more compliant mode, you know, to what is happening in the environment. And I think this is where we had made a difference. I think the team with me, the company has been given a chance to really unleash their potential.
Can you give me some examples of some of the most creative campaigns that HP has done in China?
One key part of it we got to also make visible is the appetite for risk and failure, right? I think you know, we have done many tremendous successful campaigns. We had also a fair bit of our own failures in some areas. And I think this is the part where you need to let the team understand and feel confident that I'm given a chance to come up with good ideas to succeed. At the same time, I may trip, I may fail, and that is acceptable to the company and my boss. I think this is the key mindset behind this whole journey that I see in the past 5 years. Of course, back to the point about campaigns in China, I think one of the biggest darling to me, right, is really the youth campaign that we had launched 5 years ago. Then we were very focused to say how HP as a brand, especially in the computing space, get connected with the youth in China, the Gen X, Gen Y.
Let's go back to your youth campaign, My Computer, My Stage. It has taken over a year, involved thousands of HP fans. Let's give our viewers a look at the clip.
也不用这么慢吧？快点！这个加油吧，每个月来5次，打9五折。 车没了。野人洞有野人吗？
我们班2个孩子不见了。
本着职业派克的同情心和社会的责任感，我就把它包回来了。
我一个这么理性的人，怎么会相信这种无稽的事实？
你们就是为了找一只狗？
So what's the strategy of this campaign?
And I think the most interesting piece that you've just seen is really the movie. And I think this whole thing landed on a very core insight that we look at, which is really user-generated content, right? And by that, it really means that the youth has a hand, hopefully end-to-end. And in this case, for the movie, it's really end-to-end creation for a youth subsegment. And throughout this, HP plays a role not so much to guide what is outcome, but really giving the youth a free hand to create something that they like, and they are proud to really share with many people. And I think we have seen the results eventually, because the overall movie, the excitement, covers nearly about 20 million youth as a benchmark.
Ultimately, do you think it has changed HP's image in China?
Absolutely. I think from where we have started to where we are today, this thing has certainly, in a different way, helped to bring the connection of our brand, especially in the computing space, to the youth subsegment.
In your opinion, how does China compare to the rest of Asia in terms of creative thinking?
Having seen the evolution in China, having seen and understood why some things are done that way, the same, I look at it, be it Japan or India, in the same light. And I think the role that we play from a regional perspective is really managing the balance between global yet local. I think increasingly it's very important for us to be able to strike that balance. Having to strike the balance means you must truly understand what the local wants, because while we say it is not a homogeneous globe, truly within the different sub-regions there are still unique cultural or language or behavioral differences.
And lastly, HP's PC business is likely to be sold off. And what does that mean for your personal systems group?
I think the preferred option is to spin off. And we as a company is working aggressively to look at this option. Clearly, that it is the strategy intent from Hewlett-Packard as a company. And our priorities lies within how do we deliver the best value for our shareholders and our customers and partners.
Thanks, Robin. And here is PT Black with a thought or two about the ways creativity in China is changing fast.
The world takes it for granted that China doesn't innovate. Fair enough. Chinese products like the Goo Apple phone don't scream original thinking. But there is strong evidence this is changing. Chinese companies of today tend to be nimble and reactive. Only the fastest thrive. But that brings with it a pervasive corporate mindset that can shortchange the innovation process. After all, the iPad wasn't built in a day. So it's encouraging to see a recent spate of startups in slow tech companies. That includes automotive and biotech, and also medical devices and alternative energy. Early days, yes, but worth watching. Another positive sign is China's vigorous commitment to learning from overseas. It's good to see delegates from China at major global events, like consumer electronics shows and the Cannes Ad Fest. Chinese companies are investing in R&D centers in places like Silicon Valley, and rising ranks of managers have studied or worked overseas. This is accelerated by the influx of overseas-born Chinese, not to mention expatriates. It's not only about information. Overseas experience can stimulate the self-awareness and curiosity that fuels innovation. In all of this, there is one big caveat. That is the Chinese government. All of this is made possible by government support, especially at the local level. The same official who gives generous tax breaks to innovators is often the person tasked with monitoring safety and results. Is it any surprise that data quality and safety standards can suffer? Good innovation requires good investors, whether it's internal corporate stakeholders or national governments. In China, local officials play that key role. So here's hoping for the best.
Thanks, PT. With us now is Alan Ho, Head of Planning at TBWA Greater China, Richard Kelly, Managing Director Asia Pacific at IDEO, and Marie Han Siloway, Head of Marketing at Starbucks China. Thanks for being on the show. Richard, I'm going to start with you. How much global innovation applies in China?
I think if you're talking about innovation in itself, a huge amount versus just global innovation. I think innovation rooted in China and for China is really needed. It's a huge market versus assumptions that come from other places.
Are there any specific aspects of the Chinese lifestyle that requires specific need for, innovation?
All of them, I would say. I mean, it's in the usual obvious ones about growing consumerism, but also in things like, social innovation and education and health. All of those are big challenges in China versus just consumerism.
Alan, are Chinese people innovating for themselves?
Yes, of course. With the fast pace of today, Chinese people get more and more innovation. And it's not about Chinese people innovate for themselves or not. It's all about the innovation is based on the Chinese local insights. So insight drives innovation. So it's not about foreign people help Chinese to innovate or Chinese people innovate for themselves. As long as you got a right insight, then innovation comes out.
Marie, given the available budget in China, do you think China is in a place to innovate for the other countries in the region, or are they really just thinking about themselves at this point?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think it's less a question of budget, more a question of resources and bandwidth. You know, China is just such a big priority for most companies, and especially for Starbucks, I can say, all eyes are on us. And so whatever we do has got to be about growing the business in China. Now, can we do things to influence the rest of Asia? I think absolutely, and we do. And we have many products that do that, such as you know, the green tea frappuccino. But if you think about sort of our peer group, other Fortune 100 companies, there's over 1,200 foreign invested R&D centers in China today that are innovating for Asia Pacific and the global markets. So I absolutely think it can be done.
Can you share with me some examples of some of the challenges that you face when working in innovation, areas in China?
Oh gosh, yes. So I think one of the biggest challenges is frankly focus. One of the things I would love to see happen here is simply to add some more discipline and rigor into how we innovate and how we approach it. I think Ellen said it really well, and I really believe in that. It is about insights. And I think because the Chinese consumer here is so experimental, they love to try new things, I think companies often, it's easy for companies to lose focus sometimes and to focus on new flavor extensions or a new color of the same thing. When in fact, when you innovate, you really need to think about how it builds the brand longer term, and it's got to have a sustainable impact on your business longer term. So I would think that the biggest thing that I would love to see happen would be adding that dimension of rigor and discipline and focus.
Well, if you can change one thing about the innovation process in China, what would you change?
I think, and I'll build on Marie's point in a minute, I think one of the things I would change here is there's a pure focus on sort of science, technology, R&D driven innovation, versus if you actually ask consumers what they want and actually focus on the needs, is what Marie said earlier, then I think you would actually find out that would guide R&D and actually guide science and technology about what would actually deliver what people want versus what scientists and research and development people think. I think the converse idea between the focus and the rigor is also this notion about risk-taking. Great innovators all over the world take risks. And there's a certain notion between putting small sort of micro innovations out in the marketplace to test continually is clearly what I see as a big trend in China. It's like the idea of what Weibo does about continually puts things out in the marketplace, test, and how does it build your brand in the long term is clearly the game, but not doing anything is even worse.
I actually have another kind of angle on that. Actually, the challenge is more about people. Look back the whole kind of China market. If you the kind of challenge we meet day to day is when you work together with your client. The challenge is more from the client's organization. So actually, it's kind of how to put back or install or refresh the organization from the client side to get a certain innovation process and help the whole innovation happen is kind of a challenge.
Marie, you represent the client side.
I think Ellen's saying that we're difficult. And yes, we are. No, I agree. I think people is actually one of the biggest challenges to innovating here, aside from just this dispersion of your focus. And I think that so much of it is because even though you've got fantastic talent here in China, so bright, so eager to learn, but one of the key things that makes a great marketeer and a great innovator is frankly exposure. Exposure to global markets, exposure to new concepts all around the world. And your ability to take that and apply that here and to see what others actually may not notice as a relevant need. So I would say that to build on that point, really it's about people, and let's help them get some broader exposure that allows them to come back into the market and do great things.
And another thing is truly how to innovate the internal process. Because in China market, normally it's not global R&D center. People, even for multinational company, people are more on the operation kind of level. And for those local Chinese companies, they have huge ambition about innovation, but they don't have a certain system. So the first step possibly is how to make the organization itself, be innovative. So build a kind of new culture of innovation possibly is the first step.
If you can bring innovation into one thing, one entity or process, what would it be?
There are some service areas that need more help than others, such as financial services. But I think service as a whole here is still evolving. Like we run a chain of retail operations, and part of that is, is huge, right? There's so many moving parts to that, and we also want to be seen as a strong employer and a career destination. And the thing about service here is, I think part of it is helping consumers and potential employees see this industry as something a little bit different, something aspirational. But also, I think on the whole, just evolving kind of the whole concept of what service is, because service is for us delivering an amazing, amazing experience that's memorable to our customers, but it's also a very dignified kind of a business.
Richard?
I think that if there was one place, it would be actually in the definition of innovation. And for me, again, it's to focus on science and technology and R&D. And so for me, it's just like the role of innovation in the kind of movement of change, or as an agent of change in China. And whether that's in the world of policy, whether that's in the world of social and health education, all of those big ideas and big challenges, it has a huge role to play there.
I would say something very specific about education, especially in China. So if you look at the long run, if you want to be innovative or generate innovation, you need people to do that. But looking back, the current education system actually not very much different with 20 years ago, even worse. So the criteria of success is still kind of fitting into the system, which actually on the opposite of the innovation. So I think possibly this should be the first priority for the whole country, to start to innovate the whole education system and produce certain people and talent with the kind of innovative mindset. And then that's the kind of soil for sustaining innovation in the long run for this country.
Alan, Richard, and Marie, thank you for being on the show. Now this wraps it up for us today. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or Tudor. You can also follow us on Weibo or Twitter. See you again.